M.2.7 looks crazy, but when you look at your answer choices and you look at the question type with all these letters and these numbers, you're going to recognize that this is actually a factoring problem. All right, and we know it's factoring because in these answer choices right here, we're given a term on the outside and then terms on the inside. And up here, we have no terms that are split like this, so we know that we're being asked to pull out terms from this expression. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just start with the numbers. That's the easiest. So if I go with the 12, the 30, and the 24, I am going to just over here factor them very quickly so I can see what the greatest common factor is that they have. And 12 is 6 times 2, 30 is 6 times 5, 24 is 6 times 4. I know that 6 is the greatest common factor that they have between them. I do see 12 here in the answer choice, but I know that 12 does not go into 30. 12 is not a factor of 30, so 12 couldn't possibly be one of the numbers that gets pulled out when we factor. So automatically we can eliminate choices D and E. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the actual expression just so I have things to be a little bit more clearer. And that was 12x to the second y to the third, z to the fourth, minus 30xy squared, plus 24x to the second, y to the fifth, z. Now I already know that I'm pulling out a 6 from this, so this is going to become a 2, but those are all answer choices right over here, so that's not very helpful. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the x's, and I'm going to look at the x terms in all three of these terms, and I see that the highest common value that they have is just x. So I know that on the outside of my parentheses, I'm going to have a 6x. And then I'm going to look at the y terms, and I have y to the third, y to the second, y to the fifth. And I know that the largest commonality that they have is y to the second. And so I'm going to have 6y to the second be my term that I'm pulled out on the outside. And I know that not every term has a z, so I can't even pull out any z's. So I know that this over here is going to automatically be wrong because there's no z that's in common. So now I'm down to 2 answer choices. And when I look at what my first term is going to be, I know my first term is going to have a 2 because 6 times 2 is equal to 12. And I know that it's going to have an x because x times x is going to give me x squared. And I know that this is going to have a y because y squared times y is going to give me y to the third. And I know that there's a z cubed and z to the fourth because we didn't pull it out when we factored. And we can actually stop right here. You don't have to finish factoring the whole thing because I can already see that answer choice B is the only one whose first term matches what I have down here. So the key strategy, again, when factoring complicated looking expressions like this is to factor the numbers first. All right, so factor numbers. And then factor variables.